All right. So that is a what? A downtrend. So we have the major liquidity, external liquidity, major, external, major. Now, what is our major structure range? Our major structure range majorly is this guy here. So from this high to this low, that is your major structure what? Major structure range. Okay. That is your major structure range. That's your major structure range. Okay. This high to this low, major structure range. From this high all the way to this low in this scenario is your major structure range. Okay. I hope we are following. Nothing to be confused about there. It's very simple. Then from this high, that is from ML to EL. Okay. ML down to EL. That is your what? Major structure range. What links ML to EL, ML to EL, ML to EL? So that is your major structure range. So, and then we have the minor structure range, which are the pullbacks. So this guy here, I don't know if I will be able to easily draw that here. Okay, I guess I can. So the pullbacks are sorry, because I'm using the tab, so it's quite difficult to actually navigate my way through. So let me just use the normal brush. So the pullbacks are this guy, that is EL to ML. ML to EL is your major structure range. EL to ML is your pullback. EL to ML, your pullback. EL to ML, your pullback. Okay. So I hope that is clear. That is clear, right? So, and that is your minor structure range, minor. Why this guy right here is your major. Okay, we are good to go, right? I believe we followed thus far. We are good to go. Hello, are you guys with me? All right, great. Please, before we proceed, all these Max iPhone and the likes, ensure you use your name tomorrow. I won't take you in tomorrow if I do not see your name. It is very important. Okay, ensure you use your name for your Zoom, not iPhone, Max iPhone, or something like that, please. It's very important you use the name I know you with, especially your name on Discord or something. I hope we are clear. So if you are on waiting room tomorrow and you see that I did not accept you, just know that it is your fault. Okay, just know that it is your fault. Use your name. All right. Yeah, thank you. So very, very important. Okay, so that is majorly everything about the characteristics of structure. That's everything about the characteristics of structure. That's everything about the characteristics of structure. Okay. So let me check the next. All right. So internal structure, range structure, internal and range structure mitigation. Okay. So what is our internal structure? So let's say, for example, you have your structure range. Remember, range structure is different from structure range. Very, very important that you note that. Okay. So you have something like this. Okay. Low, high. Okay. And then you have something like this. Then a new low, lower low, a lower high, lower low. So we have a bearish scenario. Okay. Now, note that this guy right here, we have from this high to this low, we know that that is our structure range. Okay. Now, but this low right here, this low, this range right here, this guy right here, happened before this external liquidity got broken. Okay. It happened before this external liquidity got broken. Okay. Therefore, it is not a major structure range. So what is it called? So this is our next major structure range. This is our major liquidity, external liquidity, major liquidity. Okay. External liquidity, major liquidity, external liquidity. So this guy right here, this guy that you have, which happened, this guy, I mean, this low to this side, this structure that you have, low to high that you have, that happened before external liquidity is taken out, okay, is what we call internal structure. So that is your what? That is your internal structure, okay? So this guy right here is your internal structure. Internal structure. Okay, we can have more than one internal structure. For example, let me use that in a bullish scenario. Okay, so we have this. Then a new high, a low, then a high. Okay, so we have a major liquidity, external liquidity, major liquidity, okay, external liquidity. All right. So all these guys that happen before this external liquidity get broken, they are internal what? Internal structure. This I, let me change the color again. So this high, low, then higher high, higher low. Internal what? Internal structure. So these are your internal structure. Internal structure. Okay, so that is your internal structure. That is your internal structure. Okay, so what is now our range structure? What is our range structure? We say that range structure is different from structure range, right? So what is our range structure? So let's look into that shortly. Okay, so here let's have our range structure. Range structure. Range structure are those structure, okay, that happen externally to internal structure. Remember that your internal structure happens, your internal structure happens before external liquidity is broken. Range structure are found outside the external liquidity, okay, without a deep pullback into the major structure range. I know all I'm saying here is English, but what I want you to understand is that range structure are more like lower time frame structures, corresponding lower time frame structure, okay, which are also in direction of the trend, which are also what? Which are also in direction of the trend. Both internal structure and range structure are in direction of the trend, but one of them happened externally while the other one happened internally. So the internal structures, okay, are the ones we call internal structure. Range structure are the ones found externally without having a deep pullback into the structure. That clause is very important. Without having a deep pullback into the structure. Let me quickly give you, even though we've not done types of pullback, that will be done under order flow. But let me give you a glimpse of what I mean. For example, if I have something like this, a low, high, lower low, and you now have a pullback more than 50% of this range, then a new lower low, a pullback more than 50% of this high to this low. That won't be a range structure. That has fallen to a structure range entirely. Okay, that has fallen to a structure range entirely. So for your range structure are something like this. So we have a low, a high, Then you have a breakout of external liquidity, hell yeah, price breakout of it. Then you now have a shallow pullback. So a range structure is usually initiated by a shallow pullback, 100%. Only shallow pullbacks initiate a range structure. Okay, shallow pullbacks. We'll still talk about shallow pullbacks later under order flow. So your pullback, this pullback that does not reach 50% of here, then price now continue lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, also, and continue like this. All these guys you see here that happen externally are range structures. They are what? They are range structures. Okay, so let me combine range structure and internal structure in a single example so that we can have a glimpse. So we have a low so that we can, sorry. So let's say we have something like this. Okay, so you have your internal structure, price breakout of external liquidity. Then you have this. Okay. Now, this guy right here, this is your external liquidity, EL, broken to the downside. These guys right here, inside, before the external liquidity, are your internal structure, which I will give red. I would give this red as well. Red. Okay. Okay. While these guys that have a shallow pullback into this range, this guy, at times, it might not even touch this low. It might not even touch the external liquidity low. It is a range structure. So why this guy here is a range structure? So let's give that maybe red, yellow. Okay. So this guy right here are range structure. So this is internal structure, internal, and these are what? These outside are range what? They are range structure. Okay. So the internal structure happened before the external liquidity got taken out, whereby the range structure are the ones that didn't do what? A deep pullback into your what? Into your structure, and that is a deep pullback into internal structure. Okay, so that is your range structure. That is your range structure right there. So let's show the example on chart. So let's have examples on chart. Okay, so I'll go to 4-hour time frame. Okay, why is this not loading ASAP? Okay, so this is our 4-hour time frame. Okay, so we have more candles printed already. Okay, so for example, let's look at this bullish trend right here. Let's look at this bullish trend right here. So we have a low. So we have a low somewhere there. I want to look at the bullish trend actually. Okay. So we have a low somewhere there. So, okay, let me start from here. A low. Okay. A high. Higher low. Higher high. Now look at this structure. This structure here that happened before this external liquidity got broken. This guy here that I cycle. Okay. This guy right here. I mean this guy, before we break external liquidity, is what? That is internal structure. That is your internal structure, or let me cover it with a box. So that's your internal structure. Okay. This guy right here. So this is your internal structure. In fact, a major internal structure. So, and then we have what? A deep pullback. So in this scenario, what we have here is a deep pullback. What we have here is a deep pullback. Hence, is this a range structure? No. So this is a major structure range. So this is external liquidity again. So, and then price what? Creates another higher high. Okay. So for this external liquidity, what do we have again? This guy right here, this small guy, before this external liquidity got broken, that particular small guy is our internal structure again for that range. Internal structure. However, after price break this external liquidity here, what do you see? Look at all this tiny structure. Up to where we are presently, there wasn't any deep pullback into this last structure range. You know, this is our major liquidity. Okay, external liquidity, major liquidity, external liquidity. Into this last structure range, which is from this major liquidity to external liquidity here, there wasn't any deep pullback. All these guys you see, high, low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, up to where we are presently. They are all what? Range structure. All of them. Range structure. Okay? All of them are what? Range structure. No deep pullback into what? Into the internal structure or primary zone. When we get there, you understand that. So all these guys you see are what? Range structure from this very low right here, this shallow pullback low here, all the way down. Okay, those are what? Range structure. So everything here, all these guys are range structure, which means if these guys carry the same time frame, we'll be going to time frame difference shortly. If this guy carry the same time frame, it means that the moment I see that maybe if this is a true break of structure, for example, if it's not just a mere liquidity, then it is valid for me to start looking for sell all the way down into the what? Into this last structure range. Time frame difference will let us understand that better. Okay. So, but this is just identification for what? Internal structure and range structure. Internal structure and range structure. I hope that makes sense. So all those guys are what? Are range structure. All those guys are range structure. It is as simple as that. It is that simple. It is that simple. Okay. It is that simple. So any question on that? Any question on that? So that I can finish their mitigation and all that, then we'll prepare for the last phase of tonight's class. Any question? Are you guys with me? Any question on identification of range structure and internal structure? Any question? Hello? Are you guys here? Any question on that? All right, great. Okay, so that is majorly what we have. Range structure and internal structure. Okay, so let's now talk about range structure mitigation and internal structure mitigation. So, but before we proceed into that, we have to first talk about the basis of mitigation. That is, this is like mitigation part 1. Okay, this is like mitigation of what? Mitigation part 1. So we call it. So this is like mitigation part 1. This is like the least form of understanding mitigation in the market. So we call it basis mitigation rules. Mitigation rules. Or let me just say, simply say, let me say structure mitigation rules. Structure mitigation rules. Okay, since I have not taught basis, though I'll still teach basis tonight. Basis, imbalance, and time frame difference are the last thing we'll be dealing with tonight. So basis mitigation rules, or let me say structure mitigation rules. Okay, so we have what we call supported structure or basis. Supported structure / basis. And we have unsupported structure. Unsupported structure / basis. So we have the supported structure / basis, unsupported structure / basis. Okay. So what are supported structures? So supported structures are structures that uses at least SR for their mitigation. What do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, we have two structures. We have a low, a high, a lower low, and then your new high, if your new high relatively was able to successfully what? Mitigate, touch this low right here, was able to touch this low before creating a low. Even that is what it does. It means that it is what? It is supported. Okay, so it is supported if it was able to use at least SR, that is support on resistance or resistance on support, as the case may be. So we say that it is supported. Another example is a full mitigation scenario of it. So we say that it is supported. So we have a low, a high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Okay, so these two structures coming together support each other. Okay, so this structure is supported. I mean, this low, this high to this low, it was able to pull back into the internal structure of the previous range. Okay, so that is a supported structure. So supported structure uses at least SR for their mitigation. Okay, so those are supported structure. So what are unsupported structure? Unsupported structure are the ones that does not in any way use at least SR for their mitigation. So let's say, for example, we have this. Okay, so this structure here, this particular guy that I put a box on is what? Is not supported. Why? Because it doesn't use at least SR for its mitigation. Okay, we'll look at deeper scenario by the time I teach imbalance tonight. Okay, if it is at times structure can be supported through imbalance. Okay, so that is an exception for it. But majorly based on where we are for the part of the meeting tonight, that is the simple explanation of supported and unsupported structure. So these are supported. This structure right here is not supported. Okay, so it is unsupported. Okay, so that guy right there is unsupported. Okay, interesting. So let's take a step further. Sorry. Okay, so let's take a step further. And look at basis mitigation rules, that is structure mitigation rules. Okay, so let's now take a step further to actually understand that. Okay, so what are now the mitigation rules? So the mitigation rule for supported basis. So we have rule for supported basis. Okay, so for supported basis, it is said that if we have bases that all mitigate each other, that is support each other, okay, by the time price wants to continue order flow, okay, by the time price wants to continue order flow, price will use the what? The last one, provided that there is no imbalance whatsoever beyond this guy, showing that all these guys properly mitigate each other. We'll understand that deeper in the last part of the class for tonight. Therefore, if price wants to continue its structuring, price has no reason to clear any of these guys. So price just use the last one and then continue structure. Okay, so it is assumed that all these guys mitigate each other and price use the last one. Either they are two structures mitigating each other or three, like the case of what I just draw on board. So that is the case of supported basis. It is as simple as that, just a single rule. Okay, just a single rule. Now, however, for the case of unsupported base. So let's say, for example, we have number one, let's say we have supported base, then one unsupported base. Okay. The rule says that price will use the unsupported base, which is this guy here, or unsupported structure, which is this guy. Price will take it, it will use it as liquidity before continuation of order flow. Okay. This guy here does not use SR or anything for its model. So price can easily induce this unsupported guy, okay, as what? As it will induce it as liquidity and then you continue order flow beyond. So that is what? That is first rule of unsupported basis. The next rule now says, given two or more unsupported bases, price take out the first one as liquidity and use the second one as continuation of order flow, provided that price still wants to continue order flow. Okay, you know, these are rules. So provided that price still wants to continue in the direction, either in the bearish trend or in the bullish trend. So for example, we have this structure, this guy not supported, and also this guy all not supported. This guy is not supported. This guy is not supported. And also this guy is not supported. Okay. So the rule says that price will take out the first one as liquidity and use the second one as continuation of order flow. Okay. So these are rules of unsupported basis. So we've looked into the rule of supported basis and rules of unsupported basis, and therefore the rule of mitigation. So this understanding that we have dealt with based on the rule of mitigation is the same applicable to range structure mitigation and internal structure mitigation. Remember that the rule we have generally established here is saying structure mitigation rules. So which means that anything called structure, be it internal structure, range structure, these rules what follow through. These rules follow through. Okay, so and we'll look into all that shortly. Okay, we'll look into all that shortly. Okay, so let me sorry, that was a mistake. Okay. Object tree. Okay, so we have cleared our board. Okay. So for internal structure, be it range structure, internal structure, or whichever case the case may be. So let's look at those rules as applicable to them. Okay. So for example, this guy right here is a non-supported structure. This guy is not supported. You can clearly see that this low does not tap at least this low, which is a support on resistance zone. It doesn't tap it. Okay. So what do you see price do? Price induce it as liquidity and then come to the SR area before continuation. So what the price do? Price use the one that is supported, which is this internal structure here. Okay. So price induce this unsupported guy that doesn't sit on anything. It doesn't sit on SR zone. So price induce it as liquidity. Okay. And yet, after doing that, continued order flow, you can see price created a new high. Okay. You can see price created a new high after price induces as liquidity. So price induces as liquidity. Okay. It's induced this range structure. In this scenario, that would serve as range structure to this guy. It is a range structure to this external liquidity here, this internal external liquidity here. Okay, so price induced as liquidity, then before continuation of order flow. Okay, so that is unsupported structure. So we will have many examples. So I want to finish this part before this time elapses. So, and that is what I'm trying to look at. Okay. This guy right here are bases. These are bases. You will see it shortly in the next session of this thing. This is a base. This candle you see here. This guy here is a base. Okay. All of them, why do we call them bases? Bases appear more like a doji or a corresponding higher time frame. But on lower time frame, they are structured. That is, if I go to something like 3 minutes, 5 minutes now, these guys that are cycle will look like normal structure, lower, low, lower, high. That's what they will look like. Okay. But because they're higher time frame, do you know how many 3 minutes candle we have in one single candle? Yeah, this is a 4-hour time frame, meaning that one candle is set. Okay, you don't really understand the rules of supported basis. Which part don't you understand? Which part is it that you don't understand? Please be fast. I want to finish this session in less than 3 minutes. Or I will attend to your question when we resume. Okay, so majorly, these guys, they are what? They are structure on corresponding lower time frame. These base candles that you see. So in this scenario, you see that those guys, they mitigated each other. Okay, this guy right here. Okay, yeah. So you can see that this base mitigates this base mitigates this candle as well. Okay, so what the price is, since they mitigate each other, price was able to use the last one of them to continue order flow. So that's what price came to what? Mitigate for continuation of order flow. Is that understood? So that's what price came to mitigate for continuation of what? Of order flow, the last one. So price didn't have to rate this as liquidity and come and use this first one. No. Okay, so since they mitigate each other, so on lower time frame, they are like this. It's more like having something like this: low, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low. Then we have this impulsive move. Then we have this, and then price came to mitigate this third one before continuation. So this third one is this guy. Okay, so those are supported words. Okay, those are supported bases. Yes, that's true though. When you rewatch it, you actually understand what I'm saying. It's actually very simple, and I actually explain deeply. So those are supported bases. So price used the last one of them to actually continue. So in that scenario, you see that is even a range structure mitigation. Why is it a range structure mitigation? Because these are range structure. Provided that I want to take this as our external liquidity, let's say this is what I can view on chart. So this is my external liquidity. External liquidity. Okay. So all these guys that mitigate each other, they are all range structure. Remember, range structure is the one that doesn't pull back into external liquidity or doesn't even touch these lows at all. So all these tiny structure you see, they are all range structure. So price was able, because this guy is left unmitigated. That is another thing. Imbalance before it, we are coming to that. So price was able to pull back, okay, induce all this other range structure as liquidity, then come all the way for that last supported what? Supported base. Okay, so that last supported base. So that is just range structure mitigation. Another thing I will do is that every of this class, this is just a 7-day boot camp. I will send 1 or 2 other videos on them.